Good. Let's refresh the page and see that it's all working. Good. Okay. So good morning. Good Friday, everyone. I named the video A Gentle Talk About the Vaccinations. I really feel that this is a good thing to remind ourselves to be gentle in these days in general, and especially when it comes to the hot potato of this topic of vaccination. I will just say that for those of you who don't know us, my name is Noah, and I'm with my teacher and partner in crime, Ruti, and we're here to bring forward and to inquire and to touch and get confused and get awakened from all kinds of, every time through a different topic, and to kind of go through the tunnel of the way we got used to look at things and to get out on the other side, which we wish to be in what really is, meaning not attached to thoughts, to ideas, to concepts, and to our interpretation about what really is, about what is happening. And important to say that we take in account in our inquiry, in our studying, in our exploring, that what really is a mystery, is a mystery for us, and it probably will be to the rest of our days in our level of consciousness. This is not something we can really grasp, understand, or explain with our minds, with our senses even, but it is us, because this is what is, and we are also a part of what is. So we have a link, we have a connection, we have our mysterious ways to live, to learn, to act out of this mystery, even if we don't understand it. And from here, I will take us into the subject of today, of the vaccination. And we'll share a little experience I had yesterday when I talked about it with someone. This person is working in the medical institution, and I asked him what is the actual pressure, like why is there a pressure to get the vaccine, to get vaccinated? Because I was coming from a very personal, very individual point of view, saying, let's say I get vaccinated, and then why do I care? I mean, why is it my business if somebody else doesn't want to get vaccinated? I'm fine, I'm immune. Okay, let's say 90% immune, but he can do whatever he wants, or she can do whatever she wants. And he said, as coming from a perspective of someone who is in the medical system, who works with patients, who have corona, he said, why shall we suffer? Why shall we work hard because of stupid people who don't want to get vaccinated? And I want us to enter this subject from this, from the how easy it is for us to call somebody else stupid. And it's not just the privilege of medical people who have knowledge, because also people who don't get vaccinated, just like that, call the people who get vaccinated stupid. And then this is just a ping pong of stupidity. These are the two options. Either you're on this stupid side, or on that stupid side. And that's why I named this talk Gentle. Why is that happening to us? That we lose this gentleness so fast? And what is the consequences, or what is the price of losing this gentleness and tossing words like stupidity and at other people? This is my question.
I think that maybe the first question that should be asked before that one is, why do we find ourselves calling something or someone stupid? Okay, well, how does that even become an option? And we're not speaking of how to behave nicely or how to be polite. We're asking we're talking about the real thing. We're asking, how can that be that a person who is acting out of his own conviction would be called by someone stupid? And I think two major understandings, or two major, these are things we need to acknowledge and are there to look at. One is that we identify gravely with our opinions and our perceptions and even our identities and what they make us see and make us do.
We identified what? Bravery?
No, gravely, like tremendously, very fundamentally. We identify with our opinions and our ideas.
Identify ourselves, like that's what you mean.
Identify ourselves, and we identify with them. I have a thought,
okay.
And I say, this is me. It's not me. I have a thought. It rises up within me, and then it lingers as much as it lingers, and then it goes away. But I identify with them, and you're right. Not always does it go away. Sometimes it stays for a long time. And the reason it stays for a long time is because I identify with it. Meaning, when I'm called Ruti, I mistakenly believe that when the name Ruti is heard or is spoken, what it means is this collection of thoughts, this collection of ideas that make me who I am. And actually,
it's not just, we also call it values.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just thoughts and ideas. Sometimes it's always. It feels like it's deeply rooted in who I am.
Yeah.
I cannot live without these values. That's what we think.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why everything that doesn't comply to these sets of values or this collection of thoughts, we identify as either dangerous, stupid, or some kind of a vehicle that would enable me to get somewhere that I'm not able to do now. I'm not able to get there now. Okay?
I didn't understand the last one.
whenever I encounter something that is very different from the way I see things, I would resort to three options. One is saying it's stupid and worthless. One is saying it's dangerous and we should act upon it, either attack or retreat or do something to eliminate the threat, or I would use it in order to get more value, be in a better position, and so on.
Okay. There's also the option of fixing it.
Yeah, that's part of attacking. It's like
Okay.
I'm getting there in order to change it or to do something that would fit my needs, comply to my fears, and so on.
Okay.
As much as I go with that, I find myself more and more afraid, more and more alert, more and more thinking that it should be, that something should be done to whatever is here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that's why I call things stupid, because they don't comply with my logic, with the way I understand things. And since I identify with them, instead of saying, I met someone who thinks utterly different than me, I can't understand anything that he's saying, I can't, doesn't resonate with me at all, what am I going to do? If I identify with my thoughts, I would resort to either to one of the three. Coming from separatedness, attacking, using, or just, saying that it's stupid and eliminating it from my. That is something that we do a lot, and we miss out on life as we do that, because we become like a vicious circle, holding on to my opinions, pushing away everything else, and creating friction wherever we go. And the question of vaccination, meaning something that, first of all, has to do with our health, saying actually pain, death, danger, fear, everything is in there. What we do is we cling to our opinions and our perceptions stronger than ever, thinking this is the responsible thing to do. And then from there, the story goes on.
Okay, so now you're answering why we even call something stupid. The question that arises now is, okay, now let's say that I acknowledge this, that I do this because because I'm clinging to my opinions and my values. And let's say I know now that I am not, okay? I am not my opinions and I want to open up. How do I do this without getting, first of all, getting freaked out when I hear things that are just completely doesn't resonate with me. And also, how do I not fake it? Because if I think someone is stupid, it would be like, what do I need to do in order to not think they're stupid? How can I not think what I think?
Yeah. First of all, maybe there was something missing in what I said before. There is something else that is not only the question, there is stupidity, or maybe we would call it ignorance, that is not the same as I just mentioned, when something doesn't fit my logic or my way of understanding things, and then I believe that it's stupid or illogical or just ridiculous. There is another state that says that The state is the one that comes from me seeing that this person is acting out of the imaginary world of fear. That does not mean that nobody will be afraid or that we shouldn't be afraid. But the world of fear is actually an invented hologram, an invented parallel universe that is not really parallel. We invented it and we believe it to be true, although it exists only while we think it and believe in it. Okay, and that's the world of fear, that, as we called it in the book, what really is, which is actually saying that when we approach the world believing that it is complex and dangerous, and that we are missing or lacking or we're not enough, and that for that reason, being alive is coping, struggling, and being in friction all the time, then when we act from there, everything that we do, instead of eliminate fear, makes fear grow. Instead of being more alive, we become more anxious and less with energy and with enthusiasm and with being thankful for the life that we have. That is a kind of ignorance, because it is not being in touch with the world as it is, but with this imaginary invention that we are creating, believing in it, and then living as if this is the true world. Okay? That is this kind of ignorance. So sometimes we can see people acting out of the world of fear, instead of really seeing what there is and acknowledging it and giving themselves over to it because it's the only thing there is. Then we might say that there's ignorance there. And as you said before, it can happen to someone who is pro-vaccination and anti-vaccination, because what matters here is not the conclusion. What matters here is where you come from.
Yeah, you're talking and I see like a visual reality that is like people are walking and it's like they're wrapped in a like astronauts, but bigger. It's not just the head. I imagine this like almost the whole body. And we're just walking wrapped in those bubbles, and then we bang into each other, or we really make an effort not to have this friction. And we can't really meet because we're trapped in this set of beliefs, of opinions, of values. We're trapped in our character in a way. And that's when you said that we're missing out of life, we're missing out of each other because we can't really meet and we don't know that. We're not aware of that. So actually the ignorancy is not about what we think or not think. It's it doesn't matter the content of the opinions, it's just how much we are aware to the fact that we're trapped in this layer, in this. Ruti, I think you need to turn on the lights.
I will. It became really, really winter here.
Yeah, it looks like suddenly it's evening. Oh, hello. Good morning. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, so let's take us one step further. I acknowledge that I am trapped in my opinions, but I still have them. What can I do? So like, what's the next step? I talk with this person, and I am still confused, let's say, about the vaccination. I don't know. And gladly, I still don't need to decide. And I feel a bit vulnerable, right? Because I'm a bit unsure. He's a doctor, and I hear him saying, stupid people don't want to get vaccinated. The first thing I want to do is to confront him, and saying, wait, but what about the researchers that said that the vaccination is dangerous? And what about the conspiracy theories that said that there's a world plan to plant nano chips in our bodies to follow us? And what about a holistic way of treating viruses? What about changing the why don't we educate the people to eat more, right? And not to spray the food, all the other options. And I get tired of even imagining this, arguing with him about this. So I give up in advance. I shut down. I say, okay, now I feel frustrated because I didn't express myself. I feel insulted because he kind of called me stupid. He didn't get to hear, and he doesn't even know that he probably might have hurt me. So.
Why didn't you speak? What was the thought that made you decide not to?
The thought was that he wouldn't listen anyway.
Okay. So I'm going to give a bit annoying answer, or relate to it in a way that might be annoying but is worthwhile.
Okay. Can you talk a bit louder to the...
Yeah, the rain is really heavy here, so I'll try. It became really wild.
Wow.
It's better now?
Yeah, but you need to talk loud.
Yeah, okay. The thing that's most important here is that he's not the subject, but you. You are exposed to a certain kind of thoughts and a certain kind of energy. Okay, it's the energy of elimination, it's the energy of judgment, it's the energy of that. We're people, we do that. Okay, so now you had a chance to confront it, to encounter that, not to confront, to encounter that. And when you encounter that, things happen in you. Okay, what you want to be interested in is you, not him. Meaning not that you don't care for him, but that your focus is what's happening to you when he is who he is. Okay? When you turn the mirror towards yourself, you can see that you already have a certain way of seeing things, a certain way of understanding them, a certain way to reach conclusions that would actually, in many ways, decide how you're going to react, what you're going to do, what you're not going to do, and how your life is going to look. 10 minutes from now, 3 weeks from now, or half a year from now. That is what you want to focus on. And then you can see where you're coming from. Then you can see the thoughts that you have. For example, I was smiling while you were talking because the first thing that I thought to myself was, well, if there are stupid people and smart people, first things first, I need to belong to the smart people. So I start thinking to myself, what do smart people do? How do they react? What do they not say? How can I belong to the right camp, right side, right group? and not to the other one. And we react to that very quickly. The mind analyzes the data, and then it draws conclusions, and from then we go on. But if I stop, if I slow down, and I say to myself, instead of reproaching him about how can that be that he says that, I can see that in a minute, from the moment that he said there are stupid people, I started evaluating myself and, trying to see where I belong. And then what we do many times is that we go to our opinions and we resonate and we explain and we rationalize our fears by putting them into the questions of rights and the questions of being fair and the question of being more patient and more open and so on. Instead of really realizing that I'm afraid that what he's saying is splitting the world, and that worries me. The consequence worries me. I'm not sure if I'm going to be vaccinated or not, so I don't even know where I belong to yet. But now I'm more pressured to decide, because if I buy into the story that there are these stupid people and there are these smart people or responsible people, and then I'm more pressured to get, to come to a conclusion, to reach a conclusion. And when that happens, the mind is activated even stronger than before. And then I feel really bad that I don't know how to decide. I feel that it's very urgent that I would know how to decide. And then I start collecting more information. As much as I collect more information, coming out of fear and feeling that I'm not enough and that I should be something else, this information that I'm collecting becomes a burden. It becomes more confusing. It becomes more diverse, more threatening. And
because I feel like I need to, it's not just information that I collect it. Now I need to keep it. I need to organize it.
Yes, and then decide. And as much as I collect more information, if I'm really open, if I don't go to the same sources, but if I go to various sources, I become more and more confused. To the mind, that is a really big problem, because he says, I gave you like 1 hour or 1 week, and then you need to decide. Not because you need to go get vaccinated or not, but because you need to know whether you're with the stupid people or the smart people.
Yeah, so, and let's say I decide that I think different than him, then I need to prepare myself to the battle of interaction and prove, first of all, to myself that I am the smart side.
Right. And that's really important, because the minute that one person looks at things as split, as right and wrong, like the mind works, as those who belong and those who are outcast, those who are responsible and those who are irresponsible or dangerous, then we adopt that way of thinking without even realizing that we have adopted that. Okay, and since we are very confused about what being responsible is, we think that being responsible is holding very strong opinions and then living them out, like walk your talk. Okay, but that is what becomes sometimes very dangerous, and that is what makes me walk in the world with many blind spots, and I wouldn't even call them spots anymore. It's like fields of blindness, yeah? Unreachable for me, out of my opinions, my way of thinking, the logic that I adopted or didn't even know that I adopted by just living that out. That is something that's really, really, it influences us a lot. That's why when I turn the mirror towards me and my focus is on what's happening to me, I will go slower because I need to, to figure out what's really happening now. And then when everything becomes slowed down, I can really see how he said something, I heard that, and at the next moment, I acted as if there is this split. And then I would be able to look at it and say, is there? Are those people who think differently than me stupid? What is stupid? Okay, not philosophically now debating the term philosophy, but really understanding stupidity is something that we invented. It's an adjective. What are we trying to say? Okay, what does it mean? And from there, a lot opens up, because if stupid is not thinking, everyone who doesn't think like me, or everyone that I don't understand his or her logic, then it would be much more fruitful if I would go to understand their logic. Okay, I would try to understand, what are they thinking? How do they perceive the world? What makes them do whatever they do? And then I become richer. When I become richer, then everything that I do is much more alive, much more, it's like, I see the energy, it's like, it's much more colorful and not like one monotonous color or like, something dark, but there are shades. It's a really big palette of colors. I can now play with them, create with them, be them, try them on. Now, I can try something on and then try another thing on, see what you see from there, and then we become richer.
But when you said like turning the mirror, I went back to my to my picture of with the astronaut shields. Once you do that, you immediately your shield, you're not focusing on the shield,
right?
And because you're focusing inwards, you can't maintain this, and then it weakens, and then you feel exposed.
Exactly.
And then the mind, what we call like this, the thinking mind, panics.
Yeah.
Because we are so used to having this, and if we start look from within, I don't think we can avoid losing our shield.
Yeah. Since it was never really there, it might as well that we see that. It might as well be whatever we now acknowledge, because it was never there. So actually we put our safety, our sometimes confidence, our right to speak, our values, our value, our own value in this shield, which is composed out of a few thoughts that make a coherent story to the mind, tremendously irrelevant to whatever really is. And when that shield crack, when that shield dissolves, actually what happens is that we acknowledge that it was never there. The mind, though, as you just said, the mind has difficulty with that, because the mind, with his own measurements, acknowledged that there is a shield and that you need a shield because you don't know where threats will come from. So now he finds himself very exposed. When we are exposed, a nice question that we might ask is, and if everyone now sees me as I am, and I have no way of hiding something or showing just part of it or deciding what people will see or know about me, or think about me? What is actually happening to me? And if I feel fear, I feel afraid, then I would ask, what frightens me by the fact that I can be seen as I am? What do you think? What do I think it would do to me? Or what do I think it would say about me or create in my life?
So let's go that path. Okay, let's not talk in the air. Let's go there. Okay, so I'm putting myself now in the shoes of a woman who has children. This is not who I am, but I want to put myself, because I know someone, and I'm talking, hopefully I'm talking accurately from her mouth. Okay, it's a good friend of mine, and she feels very strongly that she shouldn't get vaccinated, and she has a child. Now, if she will speak freely, her feelings, her intuitive wisdom about about in this case, she will be called, of course, irresponsible. People who are close to her will take distance because what they think of her, and because she might be literally dangerous to them, because she might get COVID, and her son. So this is one thing that scares me. There's a second step. Her son cannot go to the kindergarten, okay, because there are only vaccinated children and families. So she becomes an outcast. She becomes isolated. So that's already scary.
Why is it scary?
Because there will be things will change dramatically in her life if she can. Why is it scary? I see where you're going.
Now, what I'm saying is, I'm not avoiding, and I don't think we should avoid the consequences of, for example, me not being vaccinated, or her not being vaccinated, and then she's unable to go to a certain kindergarten or so on. But maybe we'll start with the fact that she says that her intuition tells her something. When we come from our intuition, we will not be afraid, and we will not resist anyone's attempt to destabilize us, because it is not an opinion, it is my intuition, or more accurately, I would say, this is what I sense to be my intuition.
Yeah.
Okay, intuition is something very
vague,
very live and airy. No, not only vague. It's on the move. It's not a thing. It's not an opinion. It's not fixed. It's a state of being. Okay, and then what I see from that state of being. So when I am there, not calling my opinion intuition, but really listening to my intuition, I know that everyone and everything around me are of value for me to discern better between an opinion that I called an intuition or true intuition. So I would not find myself fighting anything or resisting anything. Okay, that's one thing.
So you're saying, and just repeat to see if I got it correctly, you're saying that if I am truly in my intuitive wisdom, I will not be, is it correct to say I will not really be scared? I will have some ease and quietness in me.
That may be, but I was talking about something much more immediate, much more. I would not try to avoid or eliminate any voice that I hear.
Okay.
So, for example, when the kindergarten teacher or other parents in the kindergarten say, I'm not willing that you bring your child here when you're not vaccinated, I would come closer to them. Actually, usually we do the opposite. And then we become sides.
Yeah.
But if I would ask them to come for coffee, or maybe if they're afraid, we'll sit in the park because I'm not vaccinated. Okay, she's not vaccinated. So we'll sit in the park and we'll speak. And I would want them I would share with them. My sharing would not be one that makes I'm not with the intent of convincing them.
Yeah.
I'm with the intent of encountering. And by that, I would also create this movement coming from them of listening more. It doesn't always work like that, but it's much more probable that if I come from there, then the resistance or the maybe fixed ideas would be less what would compose our encounter. And
yeah, I will provoke the similar energy that I am coming from. I will provoke from them. So if I'm in ease, if I'm not trying to convince or defend or attack or manipulate, that will probably attract the similar energy from my partner in the conversation.
Right. And whatever happens there in this encounter would be for me something that would be for me what enables me to become richer. Not meaning that I now hold their opinions and my opinions, because that's not what it's all about. It's that I'm now more attentive to my real intuition, to that dimension of intuition, and less in my opinions. That's the essence of every encounter.
But how do I listen like this? Because we're very much used to listen to each other from the dimensions of opinions. Somebody tell me something, I take it as a data, I put it in my brain, I make sense of it, and then I decide sort of what I think about it. Does it make sense to me? Does it not? Da, da, da. But you're talking of a different kind of digesting information. I can see it when you talk. It's like you're taking the data and you're not collecting it here. You're like, whew.
Yeah.
It's like it plays music in you. It's like it's making some kind of a dance in you. And it's also not just, it doesn't stay here.
Right. Because the first thing that is important to know, the first opinion that we hold is called I. Mm-hmm. When I believe that Ruthie is something, then I encounter the world as something, and then I encounter other somethings, and then we meet. And when we meet, then, as you said, I listen and I say, I agree, I don't agree, I can't do that, I cannot, and it's like separatedness. But if I listen knowing that there is no I, meaning that I'm not a thing, not concerned with who I am, what my opinions are, what do people think about me, I just become like, it's like something very soft, very airy, that just breathes in anything that is said, okay? And it's not like being, pink colored. It's not like La La Land. It's really being so much alive that I'm not concerned with being something, but with life itself. So everything that happens is just, it becomes part of me. The energy is absorbed in me. And then two things happen. One, as you said before, the shield is vanishing or actually acknowledged to be something that was imaginary or an illusion. And the other thing that's happening is that inner knowledge, inner wisdom, intuitive wisdom, wisdom that comes from here, from the origin of everything, and not from our our shapes and our forms, that becomes something totally different. Then everything is there like giving me life instead of threatening me or threatening who I am.
Okay, so let's take this to the next level. Living like this, because I can really practice and be aware of this discerning between the I, that is a thing, and this I don't know, like more airy being that I am. And then comes the question that the mind really likes to ask. Okay, now what do you do? If you're so airy and you have no opinions and everything can play music and dance in you and reach in you, what will you do in the money time? You know, comes the time, how will you make a decision?
So when we're in our mind, thinking that we should know where we're going and we should avoid certain things and we should, and our being a responsible person is deciding how to react upon things, then we become stressful. Because
right, I got stressed just by asking.
Yeah, exactly. Because I need to know, I need to decide, I need to not, to make the wrong turn.
But you you need to get vaccinated or not. Yeah. You need to send your child to school or not.
So in our minds, we think that, and then it becomes stressful, and then it becomes, we're now also judging ourselves for not knowing. We're looking at others and saying, well, how can they cope with life so much better than I, when I cannot decide, or I feel something and I'm not sure how to go about it. But then there is this other dimension, which is called life itself, not what the mind tells us about life. And this dimension acts very differently, because that dimension is not about deciding. It is about being, but not in a philosophical manner or meaning, but it means that when I'm fully present, okay, and I live my life out of the here I am, totally here, present, then the whole process that happens that we were talking about today, the ability or being attentive, listening to my intuition, smiling a bit, knowing that sometimes I call intuition to a very strong opinion or whatever I manage to see while looking from the ways I'm used to look at the world from. Then what happens is that this smile makes everything more airy, and then I breathe in everything that happens, everything that is, I'm told, everything that I see, everything that I feel. I do not want to do anything with them. I just inhale. While doing that, my mind becomes more silent, because at the beginning it talks a lot.
It reacts to everything.
It reacts and it tries to, to put things into some kind of an order, to some kind of logic, of, to understand things. But when I continue to do that, I inhale, and again, and again, and again, the mind becomes desperate. And then it becomes very quiet because it is not even thinking that it can do something efficient with everything that there is. What the mind wants me to do now is to shut down everything so that more information or more destabilizing facts or people or energies would not be able to enter. And it will try to do as much as it can. It's like when we're trying to digest food that we ate, not attentively and with in much too great quantities.
This is when I feel that I want to go under the blanket and not coming out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or you can then attack. You can then say stupid people, because then you need to, you need to push
So
away.
it's either this or this.
Because what the mind wants to make sure is that it doesn't get more confused than it already is, because it is really confused.
Yeah.
And you're smiling, but it can become really stress.
Oh yeah.
We are used to go, to turn to our mind in order to tell us what to do, and the mind just becomes silent. But if we don't freak out when the mind becomes silent and when the shield is actually not there because the mind cannot create it anymore, cannot maintain it anymore, then something really beautiful happens, because then there's some kind of emotion, not emotion, motion, that is not done by me, not creating it. I don't know where, and I don't know from where, because everything is now, the mind is silent, okay, or it's too tired to speak. It has it's not motivated in any way. And then there is a different kind of emotion, which is very sweet. That's the feeling of it, the notion of it. And it's very, it has no stress, it has no urgency, it has no motivation, but it's really alive. Because then the mind stops controlling everything. And then the fact that we are one with everything, the fact that we are energy and not a thing, the fact that we are love and not opinions or things, then this becomes the way that we are alive. That becomes what makes us do things, certain things and not. And very often we can't really explain why I do a certain thing or not. When I went to be vaccinated, I couldn't really say, and I'm an intelligent person, and I really studied a lot, and I've asked myself quite a bit, and I was asking people to destabilize me, and I wanted to hear everything that I could find.
About the vaccination.
Yeah, about pros and cons and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But then there is this knowledge in me that becomes more and more evident in my life, that the information that I got and the confusion that I allowed to be, or I asked to happen, are not in order for me to then reach a conclusion, but they would do something in me. Mm-hmm. And if I stay attentive enough and not go to my head or to my mind, they will lead me to a certain point. Mm-hmm. They will make me do something. What's important to understand is that the minute that I was vaccinated, I again became asking to see, asking to hear, listening to myself, reading more about it, very open to other people and what they're saying to me. It's not that once I decided, because I didn't decide, it was not in my mind.
So it just happened. It just happened that you went to get the vaccine.
But it didn't happen as we usually say. Well, you know, it just happened. It's not that way.
No, yeah.
But it's the motion that was taking me there.
You're talking, and for some reason I feel, or I imagine, like I imagined the astronauts before, I imagined a plant, like a flower or a tree or a bush, and it gets what it gets, you know, it gets information, sun, soil, the things, that minerals in the soil, the water, the texture of the water, the quality of the water. And all those things make the plant what it is.
Yeah.
Now, plant doesn't need to go anywhere to get vaccinated or not. And but what you're describing is actually...
No, wait. It was very beautiful. So just stay there for a moment. The thing in me that's saying I need to get vaccinated is our mind.
Yeah, exactly.
If we go along with the plant and we don't say, well, we differ from plants,
exactly,
which we do in certain measures and we don't in others.
Yeah.
Then what the plant does is it listens to its own nature and abides by it. Okay, so that it really goes, it's some kind of a discipline that I give myself over to my nature and to the nature of everything. When I do that, I find myself going to be vaccinated. And actually, when I was doing that, I felt that I was carried on a wave of love. I came there to a beautiful place with beautiful people smiling and feeling privileged to be part of history in that manner. And then I was sitting there because you're asked to sit for 15 minutes just to see that you're okay after being vaccinated, you know, not first impact. And I was sitting there looking at people, feeling so very close to them, so loving to them. So everyone really took really good care of each other. So that doesn't mean that everyone that goes to be vaccinated would feel that way. It is not that's the right thing to do. That's what the mind says. It says, okay, nice story. Now tell me what the conclusion I should make. What's the analyzing data is asking me to know. But if I just find myself seeing that whenever I listen I don't listen to my opinions, then there is a different motion, and there is a different knowledge, and there is a different wisdom that I'm carried upon. That is actually also the result of everyone's awareness and everyone's confusion. And that's the way that it is. I cannot outsmart this. I'm part of that. Yeah. So when I stop fighting that, and I acknowledge the fact that I am part of everything, and yet I am not like everyone. So it is my responsibility to listen, to be destabilized, to realize what destabilizement made possible for me, and then be carried on the wave of what really is, of the way that it is now. That's very beautiful and very practical also.
Yeah. Maybe it's a good time to get more inspired by other beings that are not human, like plants and animals.
Yeah.
be a bit more like them.
Yeah. Right. And then also, just to conclude with that, the last week I was asked to speak a bit about the Garden of Eden. And the fact that we live as if we were expelled from the Garden of Eden and that we're now in exile.
And we're different.
Right. Right. But what if we weren't expelled? What if there was no punishment, but only consequences? Because by wanting to understand, by wanting to be in control in the way that our mind understands control, that was all given to us. It says in the Bible, it was all given to us. It was all for our enjoyment and beauty, that it was all given to us. It was all made perfect. And then we said, good job, no complaints, but we want to understand how you did that. And then we ate this apple or fig, whatever we decided to be. And from then, we live out of our minds.
Yeah.
Day by day, not by doing that there and then. That's not a problem. But we continue to look at the world out of our minds. And that is actually, when you say he's out of his mind, that's really being nuts. Because instead of looking at the world and at ourselves from the mind, how would it look like if I would know that the mind was this illusion that was created by eating that apple, but actually I never left. There was nowhere to leave to. There was nothing to leave.
Okay? The simplicity of living not from our mind,
right,
is always here for us. We are these natural beings. By definition, we cannot not be this simplicity. We cannot not be the biology that we are.
Right.
So it is always available to us if we just, like, this is a very good move.
Yeah. And surrender. It's not only the understanding.
Yeah, the obedience.
Yeah.
To this. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for being with us live or later. You will see this whenever, and we're happy that you're here right now, whenever right now is, and feel very invited to stay in touch, to comment here, if it's on YouTube, if it's on Facebook, if it's visiting on our website, whatreallyis.com, and we will be very happy. This inquiry is shared inquiry, and we all get richer and richer from our joint confusions and insights. So thank you and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.